and welcome to the Sega Lounge. How is everyone doing? Enjoying your summer? Perhaps enjoying Gamescom, Sage, or any other gaming-related events? Whatever you're doing, I hope you're safe and well. This week's episode is a bit different. Instead of having a guest host sharing their favorite summer game, it's time for me to do just that as I take a trip down memory lane and reminisce on what happened almost 30 years ago during my summer holiday. Boy, I'm old. I hope you enjoy it, and I do hope this summer series inspires you to try some games you haven't tried yet, or maybe even go back to ones you've already played. For this edition of our bonus summer series, I'm going back in time to a very specific summer of my life. Growing up a child of divorced parents, I only had my Mega Drive available to me every other weekend when I visited my father. In hindsight, that limited contact with video games probably made me appreciate them more and make the most out of the time I had to play them. But every year I got to spend an entire month, usually July, with my father for the summer holidays. One particular summer in the 90s, I even got to bring a friend from school along for a week or two as we went to the south of Portugal to enjoy the sun and the beach. I also got to bring my Mega Drive and a few games. That year, which, judging by the game's release date of late 1994 in Europe, should have been 1995, I was playing Sparkster Rocket Knight Adventures 2. Now, I need to say that I'm not approaching this from a definitive summer game perspective. As I was preparing for this episode, I got lost in my memories of that particular summer in southern Portugal, playing Sparkster with my friend, and how it meant so much to me at the time. So that's what this is, a brief retelling of my experiences with this brilliant, albeit a bit hard, platformer by Konami. Sparkster wasn't the only game we played that summer. Oh no, there was a lot of Sonic, as always, and I do remember a lot of co-op World of Illusion happening as well. That one is, and always will be, one of my favorite co-op experiences, as short as it may now seem, from a modern gaming perspective. But Sparkster was a game I remember picking up before our trip with money that I had saved and a little extra help from my dad. I had read about it in a Portuguese gaming magazine and was blown away by the screenshots and what the gameplay styles seemed to be like. At that time, I hadn't played Rocket Knight Adventures, the first game in the series, and I'm not really sure I realized Sparkster was a sequel. I didn't care either way. It was a fresh platforming experience, and I was all in. For those who are unaware, both Rocket Knight Adventures games are single-player platforming games which put you in control of an opossum named Sparkster. Believe it or not, Sparkster is a Rocket Knight. Yes, hence the title, I know. That means he carries both a sword and a jetpack and defends his kingdom, which usually means rescuing the princess. It's important to note at this time that the Super Nintendo also received a Sparkster game, but that was a different title in the series with a different story rather than a port of the Mega Drive game. Controlling Sparkster is awesome, I have to say. The feeling of freedom you get from getting to boost through the stages in any of the 8 directions of your D-pad using the jetpack was exhilarating for me as a kid. You can use that boost to access hard-to-reach areas, blast through enemies, or just get a speed boost if needed. And you can use it multiple times too, although there's a recharge meter that you need to keep an eye on. This is also an incredibly beautiful game with colorful backgrounds, even if the level selection is not the most varied ever. You've got a forest stage, a desert, a flying airship, the enemy kingdom, and palace. That said, each level has a few substages alternating between, for example, the outside and inside of a pyramid, or the outside and the inside of the airship. That adds to the variety a little bit. And did I mention the mech fights? That's right, you get to control a giant mech that looks exactly like Sparkster and fight your rival, Axel Gear, who also has a mech that looks like him. In fact, right after the title screen, the game opens with one of those mech fights. A piece of advice, don't skip that sequence thinking it's not important, as this is probably the only video game in which you can get an important item after that initial scene. And you also get to fight with a giant mech, so why skip that? Something crucial to my enjoyment of Sparkster Rocket Knight Adventures 2 was the soundtrack. It's brilliant and one of my favorites of the 16-bit era, to be honest. After over 25 years, I still get some of the tracks stuck in my head for apparently no reason from time to time. However, if you're expecting this game to be a walk in the park or a walk on the beach, maybe, since it's summer after all, I'm sorry to say that a walk on the beach it is not. I replayed it on stream a few months ago and it beat my backside with the full force of Sparkster's giant mech's fist. I know I'm not the best gamer in the world, and I'm also older now, but without save states, it would have been impossible for me to beat that game in one sitting. That said, that's probably another reason why I still remember that summer so fondly. My friend and I taking turns playing the game and slowly making progress. There were no save states, so we had to write down and use the passwords you got after you completed each level, and the glorious feeling of both completing the game and, better yet, of getting the game's true ending when you collected all 7 all 7 secret swords to become Gold Sparkster. I remember that this happened for us either on the last day of our trip or the day before, and that made it even more epic and special, rounding off that summer in a very special way. So if you're looking for a great summer experience and you have a Mega Drive or Genesis, and you happen to come across a cartridge for Sparkster Rocket Knight Adventures 2, go for it. Or you can, just use an emulator and enjoy playing with save states and other quality of life improvements. However you choose to do it though, your time with Sparkster will definitely be one of the highlights of your summer or any other season because, summer is more than a season. It's definitely a state of mind. Says the guy who's got the sun warming his face as he records this. Anyway, thanks for listening, and do come back next week for another summer game suggestion. And feel free to hit us up on Twitter at the Sega Lounge to share your own suggestions for Sega summer games. Maybe ones you're playing right now, that would be nice. For example, I've been playing a lot of Humankind, so why not? Anyway, thank you again for listening, and I'll see you all next time. The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Find them at opussciencecollective.bandcamp.com. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Follow us on Twitter @thesegalounge and like us at facebook.com/thesegalounge. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. A Mixed On Productions podcast.